right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 3 reviews up this week, first of which is Artillery Globe. Now, you might have seen us play this on Friday, and if you didn't, well, it's in the archives. Petty Fan, just note, did you cut that yet?
I don't remember if I did, but it will be cut when this is cut, so...
Okay. All right, fair enough. So anyway, if you want to see actual game, if you want to see how the game is played, go and watch that, and I would recommend watching that. Like, because this game didn't really give us a good idea of what to expect before we actually got into it.
Mhm.
On the surface, it is a strategy game, hex-based. That much was evident, but we weren't sure if it was real-time or turn-based. As it turns out, it's real-time, which makes
also worth noting that the hexes are on, as the name suggests, a globe rather than the traditional flat.
Yeah, so this game is doing some things differently than your usual strategy game because, hex-based grid strategy, usually turn-based. So I can respect what it's trying to do here. The problem is, well, first of all, this game needs more modes. The least of which it needs an actual tutorial mode. Not throwing there is a tutorial text, but it doesn't really give it gives you indication of like how to win and generalities, but it doesn't really let you experience the gameplay like a real tutorial would. And having the tutorial text when you're actually playing a match is just bad.
Yeah.
It's like and at present you can. This is a 2-player game affair only. Which means you better have a friend who also has a copy of this and wants to play it. Otherwise, you're pretty hosed. Because when we were doing our multiplayer session, we did not encounter anyone else playing the game. And the game's been out for a few months now. Possibly longer as part of an early access bid. Not exactly sure if it did that, but the game's been out for a couple of months. Release date December 14th. So that's not a good sign if you actually want to play the game, because there is only one way to play the game, with another person. There's no single player. So if you wanted to just play the game against the computer, that's not there for whatever reason. I'm guessing they just really wanted the 2-player option to be the focus of the game. Unfortunately, it's like when you're all in on multiplayer, you live and die by that multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
So just on those grounds, we couldn't recommend this unless you got somebody else who wants to play this with you. Like you actually know somebody who wants to play this specific game with you.
The mechanics are also kind of odd for it because you start on opposite sides of the planet, and there's not a whole ton of interactivity until you run into each other. And the first match these guys played, they actually literally won before they had any actual interaction.
Yeah, we were just getting to that stage, and then Petty Fan won on points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like there are 2 ways to win. You either destroy the opponent, or you get the most amount of points, which is interesting strategy and all that stuff. But it's like, once again, this goes back to the whole needing more modes here. Like, you can easily separate these 2 concepts and have, win based off of resources, win, just having a annihilation mode or something like that. If you actually want to experience combat, have that. Once again, it was a nice idea, but all that build up and no satisfaction is no satisfaction. So you see, once again, if you want to, more nuanced real-time thoughts, we've got our playthrough a few days ago. As far as the actual strategy options, they're okay. This game is more like, this game isn't about amassing land or air sea unit. It's more about systems, like missile defense systems and radar towers and all that stuff. It's more it's more war games than Command and Conquer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, like I don't think there's any actual like tanks or recon units.
Nope,
it's
your
all
only means of attack are missiles.
right.
Yep.
And that's why listening posts are so important, so you can find your enemy. And you acquire more territory, like using beacons, and you will mine resources. There are 2 of them, the green and the yellow. They have names. I don't remember them. I don't really care to remember them. They're the stuff that allow you to purchase more units and also get through your tech tree. Tech tree is pretty standard. Like I said, a lot of the actual nuts and bolts of this game are pretty standard strategy staples. It's just configured in a very odd mix of real-time hex grids.
I mean, it's an interesting concept, just the mandatory 2-player online is kind of terrible execution.
Yeah, it's like, this game really could have benefited from, more modes. That's really what it comes down to, because, did like the chess game appeal, but, and also, there's no option for more players, because, this game could very well, I'm not exactly sure what's holding back from having, like, 4 players, 8 players.
Yeah, just give us a larger grid to randomly generate on. There you go.
It's like, it's like, some of these design choices are baffling to me, because I'm like, there's no obvious reason for them. And it's one of those things that the only answer we could get is from the devs themselves. And indeed, we might have them on the show at some point, especially if they listen to this interview. This has happened before.
Yep. Yep.
So, because yes, I we would like to hear from the devs on this, because we obviously have questions about aspects of this game. Graphically, the game looks okay. It's all abstract, simplified models on a low grid. The actual fidelity is pretty impressive. It's just, we're dealing with kind of a board game affair here, so graphics aren't that important.
Yeah. I think most of the graphics card horsepower it wants is more from the physics of the missiles and satellites than of actual graphic fidelity.
And as far as the music goes, well, I actually can't judge this one, because when we do our multiplayer sessions, we turn the sound down so we can hear each other. So yeah, kind of a big blank there. Sorry. Not that I'm expecting, bangers of tunes coming out from this. Just thinking back to the opening track, very military war drum. And I suspect that's the soundtrack here. Anyway, pricing. So here's the other stickler. This game costs $15.99.
Oof.
Yeah. I would be able to recommend this if it came with 2 codes.
Yeah, if this was one of those buy one get one type deals, Yeah, get it and throw the other code at your buddy and be like, see you on Friday.
Yeah. Because once again, and this is kind of the core of our problem with this, you need somebody else to play this with you. And there's nobody online. Nobody's just waiting there for another person to show up. Which kind of makes sense. The way the game's set up is kind of like you go, you and a buddy go online to play this game. You're not. There is the possibility that you might get some rando to play against, but that seems unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are like private connection options, but they're using actual, like, you need to set up like IP address stuff, so it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, and also the actual lobbies need some more options.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can understand why some of it's not there because it's only the one option, 2 players, but it's still very sparse.
Yeah, like you can't even kick someone. You have to leave the lobby if somebody joins that you didn't want to.
Yeah. Once again, unlikely, but it could happen if your buddy ain't fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So overall rating. I'd say a 6 or a 7. It's a solid experience if you have a friend. Otherwise, don't even bother. Maybe they'll add stuff in the future. Once again, we are not cognizant of any sort of roadmap of content, if any exists. But, as it is right now, if you and a friend want to play this, then it's a solid time, if a bit confusing. Once again, it does need other modes, at the very least a proper tutorial. Right. But that's not unfixable. Like, even like a video of things would be an improvement over what we got here.
Like, they have one in the Steam listing, but it's still not in the game itself.
Right. So, yeah. Mild recommendation with some very swollen caveats here. All right, so that'll about do it for Artillery Globe. Be sure to tune in after the break for Golix's review of Zotrix Solar Division. I think that's how that's pronounced. Zotrix?
Yeah, it works for me. That's what I've been calling it.
Anyway, it's the Nintendo Switch version, which is why he's been handling it. Anyway, until then, good gaming and such.